Greetings and welcome back to TaleSpire, guys. My name is Aaron with Nordic Forge Games, and today we're going to be messing around with biomes, different areas of the world that have different weather and temperature, different landscapes, snow, desert, jungle, that sort of thing. So let's jump right in. Alright guys, now you've seen me create this type of landscape, sort of a piney forest, temperate area. In all of my previous videos, that's kind of what I focused on. But I've been wanting to branch out and try some different landscapes, some different weather, and I thought it would be fun to make a video today as I sort of practice that and show you guys a few of the things that have worked for me. And before we get started, I wanted to say a huge thank you. Yesterday, we actually hit 100 subscribers, and that's massive. I can't believe it. Like, that doubled our subscribers from our last video. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you for everybody that's watching, everyone that's supporting the videos. It really means a lot to me. Thanks for joining me on this really fun journey. But that's enough talk. Let's get started. Alright guys, so today what I thought we would focus on are just some of the bigger, like more popular biomes and landscapes that we see in role-playing games. And just like in my previous videos, I went into the asset library and I went ahead and picked out everything I think I would need to build a scene in a snow biome. So we've got snow, we've got icicles and rocks and glowing crystals and some dead trees and even some snowy pine trees. And my goal is to recreate this same sort of landscape. There's sort of a path weaving through sort of a rocky, shallow canyon with a few trees, and I'm going to recreate this same style for each biome. And then we've also got desert, and then last we have sort of a swampy jungle marshland area. And we're just going to take our time and build each of these. And I'm doing this for the first time on camera. I want you guys to see any mistakes I make or times when I'm confused and just the process overall, because I feel like whenever we can sort of open up, it makes it a better learning experience for the viewer. Okay, so I've laid out my tiles here. What I generally like to do is go ahead and just slap down some base tiles, and then we're going to start building up some elevation, the same sort of way that we built it up previously. And now I'm going to start adding some of our 1x1 tiles to start to push and pull our landscape, make it a little more interesting to look at. Okay, I like how this is looking so far. So we've got our basic elevation established. Now we want to start adding the smaller details. So on the forest, we would start adding things like bushes, shrubs, smaller rocks. But over here, we're going to be using different assets for that process. So I think this rock is a good one to start with since it's smaller. And we can break up some of the patterning that we are seeing across our rock formations. All right, and then I think we may add some of these smaller little piles of snow to change up the terrain, give it some more undulation. So it should look craggy, but it should also look soft. There's also like a quiet stillness that comes with the snow. I don't know if it like insulates the sound of the world. Okay, then maybe try some of these larger chunks of snow somewhere, just trying to see where they look natural. And this snow is so bright while I'm working, I want to be able to see a little bit better. So I'm going to adjust our slider so that I can get a little more shadows and not as harsh of a sunlight. There we go. So now I can see the details a little bit better as I'm building. And we're going to add some thorny bushes here to break up all this white, make the scene a little bit more dangerous looking. It seems like a good idea to kind of make them peeking out of the snow there. That's cool. These may be a little bit too large for what we're doing, but I think it would be nice to have some, even if it's just in a few places. There's not a tremendous amount of elevation, so I've kind of got to use this ice sparingly. Texture is very important to breaking up patterns and shapes, so I'm going to throw these chunks of ice in different areas. They fit really good in the crag of that rock there. The other thing I thought I might try is putting some of these crystals just poking out in small areas to add some light source, and only on just a couple of sections. I don't want this area to glow, extremely bright. Maybe kind of hide them in these bushes. And then let's add some trees. So I'm going to do the same sort of process here. I'm going to lay down just 3 stumps. To add a little bit more variety, I'm going to grab some of these dead trees with no leaves. And we're going to see what it looks like if we clip some of these through our existing trees and maybe put them in the background as well. It almost looks dangerous. You know, it adds to the snow theme that this is an area that can kill you if you're not careful. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to whip some of these little wispy dead trees into the mix. And I'm trying to hang some of these icicles up underneath the tree as well. The smaller icicle seems to work really well. And there we go. So our little snow slab is finished now. And you can see with all those little extra details like the ice and the snow piles and the craggy trees and putting these extra branches sticking out of these snowy pines, it gives it a really desolate, dark look, which I really like. That was pretty quick and easy. It wasn't too hard to kind of figure out where everything should go or where it looks best. So let's move on to the desert, sort of arid biome now. All right, same process. We're going to grab our sort of base texture for the biome, lay it down, and then start building up our elevation. So I'm just going to kind of measure my general height over here, make sure I'm about in the ballpark. Also, I want to add some of these different desert tiles just to change it up a little bit so it looks like maybe there's some sort of pathway moving through here. So there's our basic sort of elevation push and pull method. I found it helpful to use the more stone-like tile instead of the sand near the rocks and any sort of dipped roadways. That broke up the pattern of the desert quite a bit. And the other thing I can do is flip some of these around so that they're all not facing the exact same way, especially prominent tiles, because that shape on the sand tiles is all one direction. And you definitely want to break it up because that pattern is so very noticeable. So just grab them, spin them around a couple of times until it's less patterned. You're still going to have some pattern, and that's okay. Okay, I'm going to grab our little mud tile here that I use frequently. And again, this is just to add some variety to the color, break it up in some areas where we have a lot of the same stuff over and over again. And again, I'm just going to adjust my time of day a little bit so I can see better. And we have some smaller rocks in the same style I'm going to use to break up some patterning again. And I like that this tile is flat on top because I can kind of make it look like chunks of stone sticking out between some of the other smaller tiles. So you can see right now we're getting a really nice variation in that stonework. And it's starting to look more natural with all the different shapes and patterns we're putting in it. And just like we would use the ferns in our forest setting, I'm going to see how these little cactuses look. They're very vibrant, so I don't want to overuse them, but I think 2 or 3 would probably be fine. All right, and then we have some more of those sort of stalagmite shapes, and I don't want to overuse these as well, but I think it could add some interest to some areas of the board that need to be softened up with some texture. And it almost looks like plant life in a fun way, so we're going to go with it. And these thorny bushes really fit in good in the desert, so I'm going to pick out just a few spots for them to peek out from. Okay, and I'm not even sure what these are. I think these are from the cavern set. They're so weird looking and interesting. I wanted to use them, and they look like they kind of match the temperature, so use it just sparingly in a few places to break up the edges of things. There's a few different ways we could do this. We could put palm trees here to make it look more tropical. So we could do something like this. It looks very, jungle exploration, deserted island. The thing I think I like a little bit more is just dead trees. It makes it look more arid and dry. It depends on really what setting you're going for. If you're going for desert island pirate adventure, or if you're going for sweltering sun, lost in the wasteland. Trying to rotate these trees in an interesting way that they don't repeat. And then I'm also just going to add on to them with some of the smaller trees so that they look a little more full and less repetitive. And then I also have the cactus. This looks a little bit goofy for at least my style. I'm sure we could use these in an interesting way. Right now, I don't care for it, so I'm going to remove it. So I really like how this looks. Mixing things like the palm tree and the cactus is necessary to make it look a little bit more grim and serious. We still get those pops of color in the green of the smaller little cactus, but overall I'm really happy how this looks, as a desert sort of dry biome. Yeah, that's really cool. Oh, quick tip. If you have something like this where your terrain piece is wanting to hang out underneath a rock, just duplicate another one of your assets, spin it around, and try to hide it. It keeps the eye from being drawn toward it. All right. And so let's round things off today by doing a sort of wetland, marshy jungle biome. And this is a little bit of a difficult one. One, because marshlands are usually really flat, but I do want to add some elevation to create interest. So I've gotten just a few rocks and bushes, tops of trees we can use as bushes, and there are so many varying tiles that we can start with. I think I'm just going to choose one to get started and then adjust as we go along. This is also one that's heavily patterned, so we want to spend a little bit extra time here by just spinning them around a little bit. Better already. Still a lot of pattern, but we're going to break that up. For the path through here, I'm going to make it lower, and I'm just going to add some random rock chunks. I don't want the elevation to be as high. I still think we can get away with making it look natural. And I'm going to break it up here a little bit by adding some of these different tiles. And I want to hide these rocks a little bit by using some of these treetops as bushes, so it looks a little more wild, but also it just breaks up the shape, and that's going to make it easier to blend things and make it look more natural, like a wetland. We're using our moss stone that we use in the forest quite a bit to add some color variation. Add a new color of green so that it's not just the same green over and over again. I do like making the marshland because you can kind of be fast and loose. Everything's really messy and dirty, and a lot of your flaws get lost inside that. All right, I'm going to add some smaller rocks again to break up the variation in the larger ones. The only rock I felt like fit was this small little rock here. Little bit of a lighter gray to everything. It's kind of like painting, and I think I'm going to swap these tiles around. Okay, I feel like we're looking really good with our terrain, and so now I'm going to start adding some small decoration type stuff. Like a lily pad here. There's also these bright pink flowers, which I think look poisonous. I like the pop of color they add, so I'm going to throw those in a few places. As well as this, it looks kind of like a water lily. I like the idea that it's sort of growing out of the ground in different places. And then what goes better in like a wet marshland than mushrooms? Just remember, it's easy to overdo it with decorations and things that really pop. So use them sparingly and use them in areas that make sense to you. All right, and then around our pools of water, I want to put some cattails at some varying height as well. And then I'm using some tree stumps that are very overgrown with vines and stuff, and I think that looks really nice here. And then I have this these sort of roots that are sticking up out of the ground. I thought it would be fun to use these around the bottom of tree stumps and stuff. Since we don't have really high elevation or trees, these roots can take the place of some of that characteristic, even coming up out of things like rocks. This looks cool over here. And I'm going to be pretty liberal with these because I really like how they look. So even though we don't have huge trees or real high elevation, we were able to get away with this muddy path, still using rocks and creating some variations in the elevation. And there we go. Here's our swampy marshland. So what I thought it would be fun to do at the very end of this video is pick out a character or a monster that looks like they fit well in each of these areas. So why don't we go with an elvish archer here in the sort of temperate pine forest. And here in the snow, why don't we choose a giant yeti monster waiting along the path to attack our adventurers. Here in the desert, I've chosen a couple of vicious hyenas. And then here in the swampy wetlands, we have a giant crocodile. Alright guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video today, and I hope you've learned something as well. I know I have, because I haven't really gotten out of my comfort zone of building just in a general forest, and doing this exercise really made me feel like I can take my builds to the next level by not only making cool structures, but having the structures placed in an area that's really awesome. Having your builds be set somewhere specifically gives that much more inspiration and interest to your players and other creators alike. So in not very long of a time at all, we were able to create 4 really awesome looking biomes for our players to have adventures in and explore. And we created all 4 of these just on a standard 16 by 16 tile from the nature section. So thanks for watching the video again today, guys. Again, I'm sorry for my voice. I'm a little bit hoarse today. My family's had a hard run of it this winter season with sickness, but I still wanted to do something fun today, create some fun content, give back to the community where I can, because you guys are so awesome. So make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video today. Make sure to share this anywhere you think other people would enjoy it. And if this is your first time visiting, welcome to Nordic Forge Games. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Feel free to jump in and join along on all the fun adventures we're having. And that's it for today, guys. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Keep being awesome. Keep building awesome things. And until we meet again,